Hey guys, it's time to Nefis and Chill, and in this video I'm going to talk about the item sets, or rather item set changes as well, that will definitely, or most likely, define the next patch's meta. And we'll start off with a few already kind of known item sets, and there will be a couple that a lot of people have asked me about, and I'll go over every single one. The very first thing I want to go over is definitely going to be Kityn Champion. And what it does is the 2-piece bonus gives you max magicka, the 3-piece bonus gives you minor aegis, the 4-piece bonus gives you max stamina, and the 5th piece perfected bonus also gives you more max stamina. And the 5th piece bonus, the actual 5th piece bonus is going to be when you cast an ultimate ability, you and up to 11 group members within 28 meters of you gain major force for 21 seconds, increasing your critical damage done by 20%. This effect can occur once every 30 seconds, and yes, after some testing, it is absolutely any ultimate ability. And this is a very, very strong set that will definitely have a huge impact on not just raid composition, but also itemization and also skill bar setups. And the reason being is, if you cast any ultimate ability, you get major force. Previously, before this set, you could only get really a reliable, consistent source of major force from Warhorn or Aggressive Warhorn, specifically. With the addition of Kityn Champion, combined with Yorvold's Guidance, which will boost the duration of a major or minor buff, and in this case major force, to about 29 or so seconds, you can legitimately have close to 100% major force uptime coming from one person who can be built to generate enough ultimate to blow a horn roughly every 30 or so seconds, or in the worst case scenario you can put it on 2 supports and still get a very, very, very high uptime of major force. And the reason why this will define the next patch's meta is because, well, it's any ultimate. And immediately I think a lot of people just thought, oh, cheap ultimates, let's do that. But you don't necessarily need to cast a cheap ultimate every 15 or so seconds or 10 seconds like Incap or Sweep. You can just hold on to a ultimate, and since it doesn't scale off of the cost, well, why not just hold on to a horn? Because remember, you might be thinking, well, if it's horn, then whatever, we can just ditch the horn, right? And spam barriers, well, you'll still want the max magicka and max stamina the horn offers. Note that this does not get boosted by Yorvold's Guidance, because it is not a major or minor buff. It is a unique buff, labeled, I believe, under Horn. But yeah, that is that's the first set that definitely caught everyone's eye, and I think this is something that needs to be, observed, not just by players but also by the devs. I will be very surprised if this set goes live as is. There's a lot of ways you can definitely abuse the hell out of this set, whether it's in either PvE or PvP groups. And yeah, again, I'll just be very surprised. And this will also allow potentially for groups to rotate barriers, and I think part of the appeal of this set is that. At the same time, definitely higher end groups will definitely not be lacking. I mean, if you think about it, if you want both the ultimate, or rather, if you want the mitigation in addition to the major force, in addition to the damage, you'll definitely pick this set up. Like, there's this, if it's a free, if you have a free form of mitigation, whether it's via barrier or Nova, during hard trash or even hard boss fights, I mean, there's absolutely no reason to not consider this set. That's just how powerful it is. And I think if this goes live as is, I don't know what the alternative could be. I think even if it was nerfed, I think if the duration of major force was nerfed, it would still be a powerful set. Or I think some people have also suggested, well, why don't we have it scale off of the cost of ultimate? But again, I don't know exactly what the alternatives will look like. But all I just know is that this set is going to be very, very, very powerful, and will definitely define a part of the meta next patch, especially for PvE raids. The next set I want to talk about that will also define the next meta is going to be Bosses. And a lot of people have panned Bosses Mania as a dog water set. And I can see why, because everyone's like, oh well, you have to reach 0% magic hit to get up to 15%, or that it doesn't seem very appealing, particularly for certain classes or certain setups. But I think a lot of people are definitely sleeping on Boss Mania. I've seen the numbers pulled in both the new trial and on the raid dummy, and I will say that with this set you can definitely break 110k easily, single target on the raid dummy alone, and boost your damage even further in the raids. The next set I want to talk about is going to be Solzon's Torment. It's not really a meta-defining set, but it's definitely consideration for Stam DPS compositions to kind of look at if Stam compositions are actually a thing next patch, which I still kind of doubt, but we'll see. Hopefully I'm wrong. Another set that people keep pointing out to me, so I'll go over it, is going to be Frostbite. I have a suspicion this is going to be more used by a Magdan for trash more so than boss fights. We'll see, but again, time will tell. I think it definitely has a potential for ice staff oriented Magdan DPS to pick up for either trash or potentially boss fights and trials. The next set I want to talk about as well is going to be Emulator Charge. This is more for PvP. Definitely a strong consideration. I think a lot of PvPers have been testing this in, well, as limited as it is dueling, and the things we've seen with it, or can potentially come up with things in addition to it, is going to be very interesting for PvE, for PvP. The next set is, especially for PvP, is going to be Gaze of Sithis. This will also have both a PvE and PvP application. A lot of people are scared away by the drawback, the typical mythic items, which says reduces your block mitigation to 0. Well, for PvP, you can still block the CCs and stuns and so forth. And the fact that you get 5,000 max health, in addition to 500 health recovery and 10,000, over 10,000 armor, that's a hugely significant deal, especially for if you want to build for even more glass cannon builds in PvP, or even, you know, certain tanky kiting builds in PvP as well. Fortunately, you cannot combine Emulator Char with Gaze of Sithis, as you know, Emulator Char is a monster set, one of the 3 new IC monster sets. But one of these will definitely, I think, define a lot of the in-game PvP meta, or at least builds. Next patch in Blackwood update 30. But yeah, that for PvE application, this can also, I mean, if you want to potentially play safe for trifecta or something as a DPS, whether it's dungeons or trials, this could also be a thing. I mean, really, DPS for sure, because you don't usually get the aggro of trial bosses or elite ads, or rather you shouldn't. So you don't really need to block too much. There aren't really too many instances in trials where you need to actually block for too long or even get direct damage onto you, which we'll talk about with the next mythic. But yeah, this is going to be a strong consideration. I think it could be the next strong version of Iceheart in a way. But that, again, a lot of mitigation, free health recovery, and I think it's just really free for PvE DPS. The next mythic, again, I kind of touched upon this earlier, just now, is Harpooner's Waiting Kilt, and I'll read that One Piece item set out because some people are still confused about it. Dealing direct damage grants you a stack of Hunter's Focus for 1 minute, up to 10 stacks max. You can only gain 1 stack of Hunter's Focus per second, so every GCD. Each stack of Hunter's Focus increases your critical chance by 119, and your crit damage by 2%. That's 20% more crit damage, in addition to 1,190 crit chance for either spell or weapon crit. This is insane. This is basically the next Duration Stranglers without really the toxic mechanic of getting the last hit on something. This is basically the next patch's version of Duration Stranglers, or even Ring of the Pale Order. I think this combined with Bosses, or honestly any DPS set, is gonna be a must if you want to optimize your DPS. I mean, it's just so free. And a lot of people will think that, whoa, there's a drawback though. Taking direct damage removes 1 stack of Hunter's Focus. Well, okay, again, just like the same thing with Sithis, you don't DPS don't really get the direct damage from bosses. I mean, there might be some mechanics that you can get hit by that are considered direct damage, but those are either A, avoidable, or come very seldomly. And even if you do take direct damage and get your stack removed, I mean, you can just get that stack immediately back with another light attack or something. I mean, it's just such a free mythic that I just don't see anyone not considering this in the same light as Saxo Heal's champion, or bosses, or honestly anything. The other item set changes, or rather item sets, that I can't really go into too much detail about, otherwise it'd be a lot longer video, is going to be the overall change to proc sets. And what the overall change to proc sets, and definitely check out Christopher ESO's video on this, especially for PvP, is that item sets that proc events that deal damage or heals now scale, basically like your abilities based on specific stats. It's either going to be your max health, your armor, or your weapon or spell damage. So for example, Reliquin here, that damage portion of Reliquin is gonna scale based on your weapon or spell damage. And I think this is gonna shake up a lot of the current builds that a lot of people are running. There are definitely strong considerations to run certain sets that you never really would have thought to run on either Magicka or Stamina specs for update 30. However, the problem with this is that you have to have, about almost 5,500 weapon or spell damage to reach the high threshold value of, the proc sets. Theoretically, I guess according to the devs, you need to sacrifice stats for that, especially in PvP, whereas in PvE, it's kind of guaranteed. But for PvP, again, I would definitely recommend checking out Christopher Yeso's video on that one, is that it's still easily reachable. So I think in addition to maybe changes with Sax Leo champion and the overall proc item set changes, definitely keep an eye out for it in week 3. I'll be very surprised if a couple of these things are not touched by the end of week 3 or week 4 on the public test cycle. Otherwise, if they're not touched, then yeah, this video will remain mostly still valid either way in terms of looking at what's going to define the next PvE or even PvP or aspects of the PvP meta. But yeah, that's pretty much all I want to talk about in this video. We're still testing quite a lot of stuff, and if you have any questions about these item sets or the testing that's being done as a DPS healer or tank, definitely come by the ESO University Discord. The link is in the video description below if you have Discord. If not, then let me know what you guys think about these sets in the comments below. But yeah, I'll see you guys soon, and thanks for watching, and see you guys in a bit.